Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, namaste, everyone. Welcome to Nature of Reality Radio on December 16th, 2015. This is your host, Andrew Fisher, broadcasting Wednesdays from the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to expose the true and false nature of reality for what it is and what it isn't. On the show today is Dr. Wil Spencer, who will be talking about using vibrant health to heal and raise consciousness. Dr. Spencer is the head of the site bodyelectrician.com. I will probably be using that site as a guide throughout the show. And that site seeks to suggest and encourage a way for humanity to enjoy natural, vibrant health in spite of living in an unnatural world. I see someone in the queue here, area code 320. Dr. Spencer, if that is you, I will get you on at no later than 10 after the hour. Just a quick introductions here. Your website tries to encourage a way for humanity to enjoy natural, vibrant health in spite of living in an unnatural world, using nature to restore nature. You have assimilated the many facets of understanding why we are healthy or not healthy, and what are the keys to sustainable, vibrant health, which is the remedy for all disease. The human body is constantly striving for vibrant health, which is sustained by an electrical matrix system of light, information, and energy that interacts and communicates with the world we live. It's a world of symbiotic relationships created to provide all we need to enjoy vibrant health, from the subatomic quantum world to the microscopic to the macroscopic worlds. Our existence is integrated with all of life, and he tries to solve the problems that nature cannot supply us in its entirety. So do we have people in the queue? Yes. George 03820, I see you in the queue, says I have an echo. I cannot hear that. Hopefully it'll go away. That's not really something I can handle because I can't hear it. Try to work on that a little bit later. If it really becomes a problem, I will sign off Skype maybe and then try to get on again. But as long as I'm here, I guess I'll start with the news, courtesy of Alex Jones and Company at InfoWars. First article, lawsuit first to challenge the use of solitary confinement in California's county jails. Well, when it comes to lawsuits for people being jailed, people need to understand that you have a right to go to a magistrate instead of jail after you are arrested, unless, of course, the totality of the circumstances requires that you be taken to jail instead of a magistrate. Like an example where that might be the case is if there's civil commotion or rioting in the streets and an officer arrests you during the riot because there's rioting, he does have some leeway to take you to jail instead of a magistrate. But the fact that they take you to jail before taking you to a magistrate and violate your due process rights at every turn when you're in jail, I know all about that because that asshole cop in Arizona, when I was down there during the September lunar eclipse this past September, didn't understand what I was talking about when I said I was not operating in commerce when I was traveling on the roads in a rental car. And because he didn't understand what I was talking about, that ignorant, stupid cop decided to arrest me. He didn't take me to a magistrate, took me to jail, violated due process at every turn. And, I don't have to worry about that anymore because I sent my dear sweet mama the bail money back that she used to bail me out. So those charges were dropped. Randy Kelton did make that clear to me that when they send your bail money back, it's a virtual certainty the charges are dropped, and they don't want to have anything to do with me because it's not profitable for people in Arizona to go after someone in Pennsylvania for a traffic law, and they're all about making money. But anyway, whatever this lawsuit's about, important thing is you have the right to be taken to a magistrate instead of jail, and the fact that they don't do that implies that pretty much everybody who's ever been arrested has the right to have their criminal records expunged and be released from prison simply because they had a due process violation committed during their trial and arrest process. All right, next article. Federal Reserve embarks on historic new era of higher interest rates. Oh, shit. Okay, I'm sorry for sounding like a pessimist fearmonger here, but many times I have heard on past news reports that when they say that when interest rates begin to rise, watch out, because when the banks raise interest rates, that will spike inflation like crazy. And, well, I was talking on the special show I did yesterday with Ted Marr about the dollar possibly collapsing in the near future, and there might be some people that were like, I hope the dollar collapses. Yeah, I understand America may have to go through a great depression of sorts for a little bit when the dollar collapses, but that's okay because we need the dollar to collapse in order to get a gold-backed currency, and we, as a stepping stone to eventually getting no currency, and then we can be like all the other aliens in the Milky Way galaxy that don't use currency. Alex Collier says we're the only one that do use some sort of form of money. And then we can greatly expand our consciousness after that happens when we don't use money anymore. And a collapse of the dollar and a maybe temporary Great Depression of sorts is necessary to have that. And some people be like, I can survive the Great Depression, having to go through it again. I just want the dollar to collapse so we can attain higher consciousness. Well, with the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates, that could be near. I mean, I've bought $2,000 worth of survival food that can last me 25 years because of the way it's prepared, so I am prepared for an economic collapse. I can't say the same for everybody else, but and also get as much gold and silver as you can reasonably afford. All right, next article, Dawn of the Cyber Soldier. Yes, they're always talking about the powers that be wanting to replace humans with machines, and the Terminator movies are truth under the guise of fiction, creating cyber soldiers, cyborgs of sorts, and they want to. It's been said that the powers that be, they do want to depopulate us, but if those that don't want to depopulate us, there are factions that don't. They would rather microchip everybody and use them as robots of sorts, and use humans as robots in a cosmic war machine like the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. Very appropriate I mentioned Star Wars, considering that the seventh movie in the seventh movie in the series is coming out in this Friday, in 2 days, and a little skeptical now that Disney controls the Star Wars franchise. You know, Disney is a major Illuminati operation, and I don't know how much truth under the guise of fiction they're going to expose in those movies. I mean, George Lucas took that to a huge extent in the first 6 movies. Don't know if Disney will do the same, but I don't really go to the movies often. I haven't seen a movie in years, to be honest with you. I'm not a movie guy. I'm a YouTube documentary guy, but I think I might make this a reasonable exception to go to the movie theaters just to watch Star Wars, because I've always been a Star Wars fan. All right, next article. Marco Rubio affair with DC lobbyist goes public. Wasn't this already public to some extent? All right, I don't really have time to go over this. Don't really know the details of it anyway, but let's move on to this next article. It's health related, very appropriate for this show. Study: 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day may cut type 2 diabetes risk. Yeah, it might also make you really jittery and like talking really, 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 really fast. And you'll start sounding like me. Yeah, my listeners tell me I talk too fast. Look, folks, I'm sorry if you have trouble keeping up with me because I talk fast, but I guess I just vibrate at a high vibration. At least that's what Michelle Walling says is the reason why I talk really, really fast. But I don't know about drinking 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day. Seems like a little too much caffeine, but maybe even if it's decaf, that it'll work well. So I don't know the exact type of ingredients. You guys are welcome to check this out. Maybe I'll talk about this with Dr. Spencer when I have him on. But anyway, last article here. Trump exposes Bush bin Laden 9/11 connection. Wow. Trump, love him, hate him. I don't really know what to think. I'm not really paying attention to this Republican debate and Democratic debate going on. But to think that Trump would expose Bush bin Laden and the 9/11 connection the way it actually the way the 9/11 truth movement wants to talk about, it seems like he would definitely not want to do that because he would end up like JFK did with a bullet to the head. But Trump's already been getting a lot of earful from the establishment because, well, first of all, he's not with the establishment anymore. He seems to be leaving the dark side, turning to the good side. And that interview he did on the Alex Jones show caused a firestorm, and a lot of people in the mainstream media are going after him, although there are people that disagree with Donald Trump, like Mr. Cat Eye, whose YouTube videos I enjoy watching because he decodes things and such. He has said that Donald Trump is a red herring of sorts and would be no different than Hillary Clinton if he was in office. Well, Ron Paul was the only benevolent politician that I knew. Even his son Rand has some problems. Ted Cruz has problems too. Saw the way Ted Cruz spoke at the Liberty Political Action Conference recently, and there were a few things he didn't seem to understand that would suggest he's somewhat siding with the bad guys in government, because I hope it's not because he's cowardly, but I got a feeling that might have something to it. Or he's been brainwashed. Good politician, but a little brainwashed. But anyway, I think I've talked about this enough. No further comments in the queue. I don't know how bad the echo is, but maybe Dr. Spencer will be able to tell me when I let him on here. This is him. Area code 320. Is this Dr. Wil Spencer?
Yes, it is.
How you doing? Is the echo gone?
I never heard an echo.
Oh, my listener said they did. Okay, I don't know what that's all about. Hopefully it won't continue. But just commenting here in the queue. Love you guys who say buy gold. What you going to do when economy goes bust? Eat a coin. Well, you got a good point. Just want to quickly point this out, Dr. Spencer. A lot of people say buying gold isn't the best idea because we want to trade gold for a loaf of bread. I mean, does it make sense to trade a gold coin for a loaf of bread? I mean, wouldn't you want to maybe have some silver or copper to make the deal a little more fair? Well, that is a good point. I'm just talking about when there's a gold-backed currency, you can the people that can change the gold into currency, they would weigh the gold to see how much of that currency you would get. So, you wouldn't need the coin. You just weigh it on a scale to figure out how much money you're owed. So just thought I'd point that out. But still, maybe a little silver and copper wouldn't be a bad idea. But anyway, enough with the economy. This is a health-related show. I actually debated what category to put this show in, whether I would put it in spirituality or health. And I thought I've got too many shows in the spirituality category. Whenever it's kind of in the gray area between different categories, I'll do a non-spirituality category. And for that reason, I decided to make this a health show, and we'll take health to a whole new level in this show, talking about things that I guess the establishment doesn't want people to know about. But it's interesting. I see vibrant health. I actually have some mind movies, Dr. Spencer, that I watch. 3-minute mind movies. I watch them every day. There's one for courage, one for inner peace, one for loving yourself and others, one for vibrant health, and one for wealth. And the vibrant one, it's about vibrant health. Well, it's health related, and they use the word vibrant. I'm thinking there's definitely some connection between the vibrant health that you talk about and the material that's in that Mind Movies video. So for those that don't understand the meaning of the word vibrant in the sense that you're using it that's health related, could you enlighten the listeners and me for that matter on what vibrant health is and what the word vibrant means in this sense?
Yes, the word vibrant. We have health care, we have health management, we have disease care, disease management, and so years ago we were looking at taglines, and vibrant, it was like, how do you describe vibrant, what we do? And really, we're not into healthcare, we're into maintaining and achieving vibrancy, really. We look at things quite a bit differently. Vibration, energy, all the different frequencies have vibrations, individual harmonic resonance. And really that it tied into the whole electrical view of the body or the energy view of the body, because we are technically more vibration than we are denser vibration. Everything is a density level. So we are physical, but on the quantum level, is there really any physical anywhere? It's just different speeds of vibration. So using that word, and not very many people were using that, and so it's a little bit different viewpoint, but using similar words. In English language, we lack words. Like the word love has 5 different definitions in other languages, and we're stuck with one word for all these different meanings of love. So same with vibrant. There's multiple meanings you can use that word with, or different intentions you can use that word. So we're looking at the highest vibrating state that you can be still in third dimension. That's like a goal, like vibrant health. It doesn't get any better than that on all levels. So that's how we're using that word.
By the way, I'm trying to get onto your website, bodyelectrician.com, to use it as a guide, and it's not loading. Hope that doesn't mean the site has a glitch. I was hoping to use that as a guide. Maybe it's just really slow and will eventually load. I'll just have to work without it. So I guess I'll have to use the bio that I put in here. I did sort of copy and paste off your website bio to put in my bio here. So interesting quote here, using nature to restore nature. What exactly does that mean?
We don't live in a natural world anymore. Our world is totally polluted. You made a statement before, you were talking about economic collapse. I say we're in the middle of a genetic collapse right now, and nobody even knows or pays attention to it. And that's really been the view for the last year and going to continue, because genetic integrity is everything. And so that viewpoint, like, nobody's talking about this, and I swear it's because nobody has the ability to determine or to see in there other than academia, because some of the machines are expensive. And without genetic integrity, you don't have vibrant health. You can't get to vibrant health. You can't be healthy. And everything on the genetic level in academia and research for the last 15, 20 years has been messing with genes and gene expression. And without proper natural gene expression, which hardly anybody has anymore because our environment is polluted, the nature isn't nature anymore. It's augmented, it's polluted on that level. And so I have been shared some information by a few of my mentors that are no longer here. And everything comes back to genetic integrity. What does it take to have your genes being expressed properly in your cells? And that's been our focus. And it actually, everything we do comes down to this. And so with that in mind, okay, so what causes proper gene expression and what is nature? We're more part of nature than we are anything. But people don't realize that. I say people, I'm talking generally now. I'm sure your audience is pretty aware of certain things. Just, I've listened to your show in the past and whatever, but I'm saying that in general, this nature is polluted, it's corrupted. And so then I've looked, okay, what did it used to be like then? Because we know 120 years ago that there was a lot more bacteria, a lot more fungi, and a lot more viruses that are on this planet naturally, and today most of them are gone. The naturally occurring microbes in our environment are gone. The mineral base in our environment is not there like it used to be. So gene expression is dependent on high amounts of minerals, a broad spectrum of minerals, and a broad diversity of microorganisms, and they're both corrupted. And so how can we have proper gene expression? We can't. How can we be vibrantly healthy? We can't. So then I've known this, and we're gathering microbes from around the world. We have over 500 different strains of microbes in what we use, and a broad diversity of bio as well as electrically available minerals our body recognizes as food. That's our basis. That's our fundamental start. So that's what we're using nature to correct nature. We're using nature to restore nature. Can't call our environment today a natural environment anymore. Not when polar bears and penguins on both poles are just as polluted as somebody living in New York City. Is that fairly clear?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just, I'm going to be on mute whenever you're talking, so if there's a slight delay when I get, just so you know. But trying to find the link here from the subatomic quantum world to the microscopic to the macroscopic world. How do you exactly propose that we are the best ways to interact with the I guess we'll do this three steps at a time. First quantum, then microscopic, then macroscopic. How do you go about interacting with the quantum world to improve our health? And then, you can kill three birds with one stone here. And then after you finish talking about how you interact with the quantum world, then go to the microscopic. And we'll do the macroscopic later on because that's what we're really concerned about. But many people aren't quite sure about the microscopic and definitely not sure about the quantum world, how how you tangle with that and interact with that to improve your health.
We look at and work towards let me back up. The direction of the microscopic and the quantum is really addressed through the macro, if you want to look at it that way, as in the body being the macro, the whole complete organism, because we're on all three, if you want to look at dimensions or areas, realms that you just mentioned. We're there simultaneously. The micro is in us. The quantum is around us, and we swim through it just like fish in the water, and we're living in a macro meat suit. So we're there, all three realms simultaneously, and I don't distinguish the difference. I really don't. A lot of old-timers have shared, don't focus on these little bitty parts, these different parts or aspects of us or realms or dimensions, whatever you want to call them. We're there already. So I've distilled it down to 4 different things that we look at. Really, I mean, this is more on the physical side of things, not necessarily energetic, but yet we're entangled with all of this simultaneously. I mean, we've distilled it down to 4 prime issues that we're all dealing with. This is all mankind. We all have infections of some kind. Our microbiome, is a micro world, is really out of balance right now. There's a simple study done in Ames, Iowa. In 1960, there was over 2,000 pounds of bacteria per acre. In 2000, I believe it was 7 or 8, there's less than 60 pounds. That's a huge diversity decrease. Plus, our environment is loaded now with Lyme, hundreds of Lyme bacteria, which are genetically modified and altered, and all these other microorganisms that are altered that are now in our environment. We all are living in a malnutritioned body for the most part. We're loaded with toxins in our environment, internally as well as externally. So now we're still covering all 3 of those realms you mentioned. And we all have adverse childhood adversity, and we have a huge amount of suppressed negative emotions across the board in our subconscious, which is our body. So all this pertains to all 3 realms simultaneously, so I don't really dissect them out. Academia does that. They will focus in on the micro or the quantum or the macro, but in reality, you really can't do that because you're missing parts because they overlap, they entangle with each other. So I don't even look at things like that. So hopefully not to convolute the topic here or the direction, but I really don't separate the two because how can you do that? You can't separate the micro from the macro because they're dependent on each other.
Okay, fair enough. And I have heard people, well, just for the hell of it, I think I'll ask you this. People have suggested that you should not spend a lot of time obsessing and trying to learn about the science behind the quantum world because, in a sense, quantum physics is the science behind how the third dimension, third density of consciousness works. And if you spend a lot of time obsessing and trying to, well, not necessarily obsessing, but trying to learn about how the quantum world works, you will, in the process of doing so, trap yourself in the third dimension and cannot attain higher consciousness. Do you, for lack of a better question, Dr. Spencer, agree or disagree?
Partially and partially not, because now it seems to be there's a collapsing, at least from my view, there's a collapsing of concepts here because we're living in third dimension. Our body is total third dimension. Our cells, our microorganisms, our minerals, everything that makes us up as a physical body is all third dimension, but yet we have other dimensional qualities to us. All ancient cultures talk about that particular aspect of our being, not just being the body, but we have this other dimensional qualities to us. All of the older cultures talk about that. There's a book series, it's called Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. That particular series talks a lot about it would be the Himalayan people, the medicine people in the Himalayas, about having the ability to put their body down and they can reappear 1,000 miles away in a matter of a minute or less in full biological form. Okay, that's just one account. I've heard of that from my Native American, teachers as well. So it's multiple cultures talking about basically the same thing. We are multidimensional beings, yet our body is trapped here in third dimension.
Thanks. And I mentioned earlier during the news segment that I do have, since you're a health expert, it only makes sense for me to ask you this. I said I bought $2,000 worth of storable food. Actually, I bought $2,000 worth for the price of $1,000. It was an offer I couldn't refuse. And I realized even if there is no collapse, well, there's supposed to be, but if there isn't, hypothetically, I could just wait 22 years before I first started eating all that food, and then I would have 3 years to finish it before the 25 years that it said that you have before the food goes bad is up. So, but people have said that storable food, like that's really dried up like that, I think it basically uses the same technology that astronauts use to keep their food fresh and such. And I've tried a little bit of it. It actually seems to taste pretty good, but it's been said that food, storable food like that, carries a very low vibration, and if you eat that kind of food, it will lower your consciousness temporarily anyway, but it still lowers it. So do you like the idea of eating storable food? I mean, some people say, we got no chance if there's an economic collapse. It only makes sense to get it. But do you think it's not in your best health interest anyway to eat storable food, regardless of whether or not there's a collapse?
Well, in times of emergencies, absolutely, you need something. There is a lot less life force. I had it explained to me. It's in a book also called Electrical Nutrition, and it's called the rock to rot theory. And it's a very simple theory. Whatever you're planning on eating, you put onto your kitchen cupboard, on the countertop or the bench, and whatever life forms are attracted to it and eat it first, the food that starts to decompose and rot first has the most life force. Well, a lot of this storable food, it's not even in a form it's not really degradable. There's a lot of elements in there. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I have some myself, just in case. But the life force is the missing part of that food. It's been extracted out of there, because if there was life force in it, then it would rot very easily. That's why fresh fruits, vegetables, and animal products, when you put them on your counter, they begin to rot really fast, like berries, or how about a glass of raw milk, or a raw egg. They begin to smell in hours, because the life force is so full in there that it just draws the microbes in and begins to digest it. When you can put some of these MRIs and these other storable foods on the counter, it will lay there literally for months and years, just like you can put grain up there on your counter, and it would not rot. There's potential in it, there's elements in it, but there lacks virtually no life force. So we're dependent on food that's high in life force and high in nutritional value to animate us and to feed us. And if you're missing the life force, then you're just going to you may have nutritional density there, but without your life force, you then lack the ability to express.
That's a very good point. Definitely want to keep that in mind for buying storable food. But hey, if it's an emergency, a crisis, sometimes you got no choice. But let's get back to a more lighter note here, talking about some of the health-related things on your website here. Let me try to get to healthy diet. That's the webpage I'm going to be on here. Let's I guess we'll look at each bold word, and we'll do each paragraph bit by bit here. And by the way, you have my permission to use this opportunity on my show here to do a little bit of a sales pitch. If you do feel that there are any products that you sell that you feel need to be pointed out because they will practice what you preach, do what you preach, then by all means take the opportunity to point out that product and the price if you want. But let's get to these healthy diet things here. First thing, do not eat grain or seeds, period. Yeah, you just mentioned that about it not having much of a life force, I've also heard it does things to your digestive system and such. So why do you say do not eat grain or seeds, period?
Well, let's just look at what grains, nuts, and seeds are. They're the baby of a plant species, and the plant cannot run away from a predator. Well, nature has put in natural protective mechanisms or natural pesticides or natural chemicals into the baby of the plant to protect the species for survival. So if we're going to eat the baby of that species, grains, nuts, seeds, they're going to do some damage to to the predator to protect the species. And what are some of the major illnesses we have today? We have reproductive problems are on an all-time high. Okay, that's your reproductive organs, male and female. Okay, a lot of it is to do because of the grains, nuts, and seeds, the chemicals that are just naturally in there. I'm talking organic or conventional, it doesn't matter. It's just in there. It affects our reproductive as a human being, as mammals. It shuts off or shuts down the endocrine system as a whole, which the reproductive organs are part of. Thyroid problems are at all-time high. Endocrine system issues are at all times high. Okay, you've heard of gluten. Well, how about lectins? I forget how many proteins off the top of my head here, but just lectins are the biggie that they can't mechanically extract out of the grains, nuts, and seeds, and they're far more detrimental than gluten. They cause irritable bowel. They're behind Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, diverticulitis, diverticulosis, a lot of autoimmune issues. The lectins actually bind to the villi and cause infections that eat holes through your gut lining. And then these lectins cause problems once they get into the bloodstream, autoimmune problems. We have all these things today in our society, in all the industrialized world, as illnesses, and for the most part, a lot of them are due to just consuming grains, nuts, and seeds in the forms that we do today. I learned this from an old client that we had years ago who was a 42-year professor of anthropology in Queen's University. He used to come over and have dinner with us. Very brilliant man. And I asked him, I said, okay, you study society back, I think it was like 40,000 years, and you're teaching this to other kids, other people. How did they eat grains back then? That was one of my fascinating things that he left this world and he shared was no culture on the planet ate grains, nuts, and seeds the way we do today. Just the last few hundred years in that 40,000-year recorded history. 14-day process of fermenting, grinding, in a couple of different cycles to disable all of the anti-properties, the anti-nutrition and the anti-life properties that are in grains, nuts, and seeds. A 14-day process. Nobody does that. It's they sprout it maybe, or they soak their seeds a little bit and then they eat it. I mean, we're finding people that their stomachs are completely shutting down, and they're juicing wheatgrass, they're eating wheatgrass, they're eating all this stuff, the sprouted bread and all this other stuff, and their body is so ill and so in survival mode, it won't let anything down. They eat it and they vomit it back up. Or if they do eat it, it goes right out through in a diarrhea state until it's gone. So just in recorded history, 40,000 years, in just this one instance, this professor knew that we don't do that. And he had diabetes. That's why he came to us. And his diabetes went away relatively quick. Diabetes is another grain-induced or carbohydrate-induced illness for the most part. So it is totally like it feeds the infections. It causes all kinds of other problems. It is definitely not a good food to eat. Survival, yes, totally. If it's that or die, I will eat that. But until then, I'm not in that kind of a place. I'm not going to eat it. And just by having people alter their diet fixes or at least gets you towards the step of better health just that alone. I mean, just the blood chemistry, there's so much coming out about grain that it's called the natural the natural heroin or natural narcotic, because it sets the blood chemistry up so similar to injecting heroin into your veins by eating organic grains, nuts, and seeds. Just that alone, it has an addictive quality, but it sets your body up for other problems. But yet, what are we being told to eat by the Department of Agriculture, which has nothing to do with health, by the way? And the natural health world is just grabbing this whole grain thing and going nuts with it, and it's causing problems. Most of our clients that come to us have some kind of damage can directly be linked in just 5 minutes of conversation back to just eating grains, nuts, and seeds. So why not? Why would you want to eat them if it's basically the scourge of humanity in the illness?
Since you ask that, I want to bring up, some people might understand, okay, don't eat grains and seeds, but when you say don't eat like nuts, it's been said that nuts actually contain certain chemicals that can greatly improve the mental capacity of your brain, thinking ability, memory, and other things. Are you saying that even if it's true, is not worth it? You still should not eat nuts even though it can help your brain like that?
I'm saying that there are beneficial things in grains, nuts, and seeds. And I lump them together because there is no delineation in our view. They're the same. They're the babies of a plant. And yes, there are beneficial things, beneficial components and elements in the grain and nuts and seeds. But, big but, we live in such an out-of-balance environment. You're going to eat a nut that's supposed to increase your brain function or brain capacity. But before it can ever do that, it has to go into your stomach and into your small intestine before the elements can be released into the body to get to your brain. And in that process, it's going to be feeding the infection. It's going to be creating acidosis. It's going to cause further digestion to go from your stomach into the small intestine, leading to leaky gut and all kinds of other things before those elements are released into the system to even get to your brain. So there's a lot of other things involved first. So I'm not saying what you're saying is inaccurate, but I'm saying is there's a much bigger picture that people are not seeing.
Oh, there's no question. And let's get off topic for just a moment, because I just stopped taking today antibiotics that I've been on for 5 weeks. I had Lyme disease, and I had to be on antibiotics, the doxycycline, take 2 pills of doxycycline a day for 5 full weeks. Last dose today, and I had a grapefruit-sized inflammation on my knee. The doctor said I probably had Lyme disease since May, but with all the supplements that I take and such to keep my health and body defenses up, it kept the disease from manifesting. And when it finally did, it caused so much inflammation on my knee, I couldn't even sit cross-legged or stay in position, and I keto, so I missed keto for a month. But the antibiotics, I recently listened to an interview by Dr. Len Horowitz where he flat out said, we have the technology to make antibiotics obsolete. And I'm thinking, oh, right, how fitting that I'm listening to him say this when I'm on antibiotics. I mean, taking those synthetic antibiotics didn't bother me. Many say it's probably the one good thing that Big Pharma actually did for us, create antibiotics to cure diseases like Lyme disease, which, by the way, is not a natural disease. It was created in government labs as a biological weapon, but that's another story. If there is technology that you know of, or methods that you know of, or maybe things that you might sell that could possibly be used as antibiotic substitutes, could you perhaps back up Dr. Len Horowitz's claim that antibiotics could be made obsolete?
I agree with that. There's no reason. I haven't had an antibiotic. I was an antibiotic-dependent child. I haven't had any pharmaceutical intervention since the 80s. I practice what I preach. On our website there, if you look up at the top, there's GSR hand scanner. Okay? That is what we use. Because our view is Lyme is airborne. It's on 5 continents. 99% of all of our clients have it in them. It has been found in air samples. Where do you think the ticks got it from? Maybe the ticks have been injected or put into them back in the 50s when the disease was created and put out as a weapon. But it's in our environment, and it's in every state, every country of the NATO world. It's on 5 continents because that's where we have our clients, and we're finding it everywhere. So the matter of trying to kill the bug or trying to get rid of Lyme's is really not based in reality from our standpoint of reality, because it's everywhere. It's airborne. I mean, if anyone has listened to Bruce Lipton at all, they need to go to Google and Google Bruce Lipton and 2 other words. One word is Oslo, and the other word is hippie, Hippie, and spend 50 minutes and listen to his presentation to a college in Oslo about how everything is airborne. Everything in the biological world, everything in the elemental world, for the most part, is airborne. How can pollen coming from GMO crops that were planted in North America end up in Antarctica? It's airborne. The pollen is airborne. So the whole concept of Lyme disease and trying to kill limes, you're going to expel massive amounts of energy and harm your body to try to kill Lyme because you're just going to be re-inoculated eventually. Our view is, here's where the whole vibrant health comes in. If you're vibrantly healthy, your body will just manage itself in the face of having all this biological agents imbalanced and all this stuff going on around us. So that's our view of that. And we manage that with using these scans because we're able to look into the body at thousands of different things: heavy metals, pesticides, petrochemicals, pharmaceutical drugs, viruses, bacteria, fungi, hormonal imbalance, mineral imbalance, amino acid imbalance. We're even able to see emotions and where you're getting stuck with emotions and where you're suppressing. We're able to see into the body on multiple levels, physical as well as, if you want to talk about emotional or spiritual. I don't really like to confuse those two. But and we're able to then create a protocol or a plan that will be suggested to you to have the body begin to heal on all these levels simultaneously, not just physical or not just emotional, but at the same time. Because you have to look at things like a triangle, mind, body, soul, if you will. And most people get stuck in one of the corners, either the mind, the body, or the soul, and they're just working at, I'm just going to work on my mind, okay? Or I'm just going to work on my body. But we're all three simultaneously, and if you don't balance that triangle, you won't get any health. You'll get levels of health, but you'll not get to a vibrant level that I like to call vibrant health. And so we're working at simultaneously. And that scan that we do, we send them all over the world, 5 continents, and that's really what's transformed how we can help people at a distance without them coming to a clinic.
Okay, well, since you mentioned the hand scanner, I guess we'll go away from the healthy diet thing for a moment. Why don't you tell us the science behind how that hand scanner works in great detail?
Sure. It's fresh out of 1924. It began as lie detector technology. It's a way a machine communicates to the body. Another term is called biocommunication, where now we have software that can interface with the body directly. You've heard of muscle testing, Andrew, is that correct? Have you heard of muscle testing?
Muscle testing? I don't know if I can say that I have.
Okay, well, muscle testing is a way for me to test your muscles to see, for instance, if this food is good for you or if this supplement is good for you. Or it's a way of testing, also known as kinesiology. There's several different varieties of kinesiology. Well, this is, instead of me asking you your body questions and then testing your muscle to see if it's yes or no or strong or weak, the computer now, software, can interface with your body multiple questions per second and generate out at a very high speed of rate amount of data that can be readable on paper to give us an idea of what's going on in the body. Okay, this was developed in the 20s. By the 40s and the 50s, it became full-blown lie detector technology where they put a strip on your forehead, on your wrist, on your ankle, and they ask you questions. And the meter, this is the old analog version back then. The old meter, you could read either the meter, excuse me, I'm lacking the words, or the ink, anyhow, the old lie detectors, if you can just envision that from the movies or whatever, if you ever experienced it. But it's the way the machine is interfacing with the body, and there's a person involved. Well, now there's really nobody involved. The technology now is where the machine has the software to ask the body, okay, so where's the mineral imbalance? Oh, I'm short over here. I got too much of this, and then that can be corrected. At the same time, we know Lyme infections, Lyme bacteria consumes a massive amount of magnesium. Want to know why everyone's magnesium deficient? Well, they have a Lyme infection. So dousing the body with magnesium is only going to feed the Lyme infection. That's why we don't look at the body like that anymore. I mean, it's been about 15 years now. We've really migrated away from symptomology with this technology now. We're able to see which strain of Lyme's you're really infected with and which one's really causing the problem. And then we know now it's been almost 30 years now, it's been said in scientific community that a broad diversity of strains of microorganisms is the key to keeping the balance in our microorganism population in us. So if you have a Lyme bacteria infection, it's just a sign that you are very out of balance with your microorganisms. So we're trying to bring back that balance, nature, and then the body can handle it. It manages it.
Well, wait a minute. You're confusing me there. I was actually saying I see this Lyme disease as a badge of honor because it shows I'm spending so much time in nature that I'm likely to get bitten by a tick. I mean, some say that's a crazy way of looking at it, but you're saying no. It's a sign something is out of balance. I mean, I thought it was just because a tick bit me. How does that imply something being out of balance if a tick just bit me because I'm spending so much time in nature? The sheer odds would suggest, okay, you're bound to get bitten by a tick if you spend this much time in nature.
Okay, well, we have clients that have never been in nature and they don't even know what a tick is. They've never seen one. They've never had one on them. How did they get Lyme bacteria in them? See, that's my point. Okay, I grew up on the back of a horse on the farm, and we'd go out checking the pastures, for instance, and we'd come back off the ride, 4-hour ride, riding the fences and the pastures, checking on the cattle, and we'd pick off 20, 30 ticks off of us, and we never had Lyme disease. That's my point. So there's this whole tick idea. The whole idea that you get Lyme from a tick is not based in reality. It's based in fiction, because reality says that, in fact, if you get bit by a tick, by your theory is you're going to get Lyme, or by the the popular theory out there, Lyme disease equals getting bit by a tick. Well, how does all these people, hundreds of them, they come to us, they don't have any idea what a tick is, they don't go out in nature, they live in a city, they've never been bitten, and they have Lyme. How is that? We have newborn babies that have full-blown Lyme disease, and mom never been out in nature. How is that possible if you're with that theory? You see what I mean? It's not possible.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. And another thing that you're saying that might confuse a lot of people is the whole thing. You try to compare the scanner, the hand scanner thing with lie detector tests. Some people, including Alex Jones of InfoWars, have said lie detector tests, polygraphs, they're totally fake. I mean, to think that could actually tell whether you're telling the truth or not is a complete misconception. They only attach you to that thing to scare you, and then when you start acting uncomfortable and all, they imply that to mean that you're guilty or something. I don't remember exactly what Alex Jones said to explain it. All I know is that he did say lie detector tests are total frauds. Are you saying that he is mistaken?
I'm saying that the old lie detector technology back in the 50s, that he's saying exactly, you can fib that thing. Yes. I'm saying now, though, that technology now has been updated. I mean, the military and a lot of the private sector and NASA have been using this technology since the 60s to monitor astronauts, to monitor pilots' bodies, to monitor deep sea divers' physical bodies, because they put these sensors in their undergarments, and just through the radio waves of the signals from the aircraft or from the deep sea vessel or whatever to a mainframe computer, you can monitor the physical and mental aspects of the body just through the radio waves. That was 1960s. Okay, the 1980s, it went to this new realm that we can actually talk to the body directly with some software, extremely accurate. If you have one cell in your body, let's just say one E. coli cell or one Lyme cell that's stressing you, we're able to see it. That's how accurate it is now. Okay, I can see in the 50s probably, I understand the workings of it, and you can fool a lie detector if it's just the old-fashioned ones. Okay, you can't fool this now. I've had so many people try. I've tried. I spend a lot of time trying to screw this up and trying to get around it, and I haven't. I haven't one single bit, because we're able now through the software to talk directly to your body. And in 1999, Candace Purse came out and said in one of her lectures, and this is the name of the lecture, your body is your subconscious mind. So we're totally sidestepping your conscious mind, and we're able to see exactly what's going on in your subconscious mind, in your body, and interface directly with it. So it's totally sidestepping our consciousness. And it doesn't lie. I'm sold. That's why I'm talking right now about it. Because time and time again, we're able to see, like for instance, we've had people that have been through massive amounts of trauma in their life. And because we're able to see into the emotional side of things, we're looking for things like, for instance, we're able to look into the body, the subconscious mind, and see if you have conflict with statements like, I love myself unconditionally. Because if you don't love yourself unconditionally, it doesn't matter what you do trying to improve your life, there's going to be sabotages going on. There's going to be an acidosis state going on. There's going to be an hormonal imbalance going on, which is going to feed things like Lyme or E. coli or trichophyton or some of these other crazy viruses. So this is why when we understood this and added this aspect of the subconscious mind into this, it changed everything. Lyme goes away easy. Lyme goes away easier than acne, because acne is a response to something, just like Lyme disease is there. The Lyme bacteria are there because your body's in an imbalanced state, period. So we're just bringing back balance or vibrancy. We're raising the overall vibrancy, adding to a better homeostasis place, and the body then can manage Lyme disease.
Makes me wonder what it was that I got out of balance with myself that made me get Lyme. But anyway, we're not here to talk about me or myself. We're here to talk about health-related issues. And getting back to the healthy diet thing, let's try to kill two birds with one stone here by seeing two things here involving combining food. It says here, do not eat starches in potatoes, squash, or legumes with animal protein. And below that is another one that says, do not eat fruits and vegetables together. Well, first of all, the thing about eating fruits and vegetables together, according to Wikipedia, it says here, in everyday usage, a vegetable is any part of a plant that is consumed by humans as food as part of a savory meal. In other words, all fruits are vegetables, but not all I don't know how to say this, but anyway, like every fruits and vegetables are the same thing, but fruits specifically are the ovaries of the plant. So I don't know what your definition of vegetable here is, so I guess I'd like to ask you to enlighten me on that. How do you differentiate, and also why you don't eat them together, and why you also wouldn't eat starch, potato, squash, or legumes with animal protein? So let's kill two birds with one stone there.
Okay. Awesome question. So fruits, okay, so technically fruit is, you got berries, bananas, kiwis, oranges, okay, fruit. Now, there are some fruits that we call vegetables, and I'm going to vary from the definition that you gave just a little bit ago. The plants, how do you say, the products of the plants that have seeds in them, avocado, cucumber, tomato, peppers, they got seeds in the center. They're technically a fruit. That particular group can go both ways. You can eat those with vegetables. You can eat those with fruit. The berries, the cranberries, the strawberries, the blackberries, that's strictly fruit. Vegetables, what do we have vegetables? Turnips, kale, lettuce, rutabaga, those are vegetables. Now, it takes two separate gastric juice combinations to digest fruits from vegetables. And when you mix the two together in one meal, like if you go to Applebee's right now, you can go get a cranberry salad. Okay? Cranberry salad is basically, in my opinion, is a WMD, a weapon of mass disease. You eat fruits and vegetables like that together in the same meal, then throw some nuts on it or some croutons. All you're doing right there is you're canceling out all the different gastric juices. Your body gets confused. No time in history have we ate so many different things combined in the same meal until just recently, in the last 100 years. And now we have like this marketing. It's like people have dementia or something. I was told as a kid not to mix these things for the most part. I mean, we did eat meat and potatoes. We were poor. We ate a lot of potatoes. And when you mix potatoes with meat or an animal product, an egg or milk, you're creating what is known as putrefaction. Food doesn't digest. It cancels things out. They don't get processed properly. The life force doesn't get extracted out. The elements don't get extracted out. And you're left with this sticky goo that gets moved through your system. And it causes all kinds of problems. So mixing these things together is not good. It's a food combination. It's really the only couple of food combining things that we really need. It's just very paramount. If you're going to have a potato, have it with a salad. If you're going to have, say, a hamburger, don't eat it with a bun. It's convenient, and we've been programmed for convenience. We live in a society that is totally driven by convenience and instant gratification. But it's not healthy. It's all about convenience and dollars. How did the hamburger start? It started out of convenience. A bun, you don't need a fork. I mean, if you've ever listened to the whole McDonald's and some of the hamburger type of documentaries they're talking about, it's all about convenience. They're not talking about health improvement at all, anywhere in any of those documentaries. Okay? So that's the nuts and bolts of it. You don't mix the two because it's going to cause putrefaction or undigestible matter, and that undigestible matter then causes all kinds of downstream effects. Then we're going down to leaky gut, we're going down to feeding the infections, we're going down the road of acidosis, we're going down the road of hormonal imbalance, and all kinds of other things downstream. That's the reasoning why we don't promote it, because there's so many detrimental things to it. It's not saying the elements there are not there. I'm not saying that. It's just that when you're mixing these food groups together, our body gets confused and is not able to separate it out. You're not able to put the gastric juices needed to break down fruit into the same stomach at the same time that's breaking down the gut juices that are breaking down, say, lettuce. Two completely separate mixtures. And what happens? We learn it in science class. When you start dumping things together that don't go, they cancel each other out, or they have gaseous, they give off gas. Just because the things mixing together are not coherent, they're not harmonious, so there's a chemical reaction that takes place, and flatulence is created. That's just one thing.
Hey, thanks. Next thing on the list: stay away from refined sweeteners, including high fructose corn syrup, sorbitol, and white granulated sugars. And it says here, stevia, raw honey, and sorghum molasses are acceptable in moderation. So what is it that refined sweeteners do, and what is it that those things you say are good in moderation, what makes them good?
Well, the refined sugars, we're back to the heroin. It sets your blood chemistry almost identical to heroin injections. I mean, there's been several things. I mean, Michigan, University of California, there's been a lot of information over the years about the blood chemistry. What happens when you eat sugar? And this is organic or conventional, it doesn't matter. It's almost identical. Sugar in that reformed form is almost identical molecule for molecule as heroin. This is why people have problems. They crave donuts. Part of the reason. They just crave them. Well, it's because there's an addictive state going on, just like you try to tell a heroin addict to quit. There's a psychosomatic thing that happens. No, I'm not quitting. I feel like Superman. So that's one of them. The corn syrup thing, oh my gosh. Let's see. Corn syrup comes from corn. Well, corn's been genetically modified for years. Sugar beets, genetically modified for going on 4 or 5 years now. Cane sugar, been genetically modified for years. Just that alone, I don't even want to eat that. Not even talking about what the blood chemistry does and how it harms the pancreas and how it harms our central nervous system and how it harms our hormones in general. So don't eat them. Sweetener's been on this planet for a long time. Honey, just about anywhere you can go, you can get decent raw honey. Sorghum molasses. Sorghum molasses is a much better alternative to sugar. It's loaded with minerals usually, if it's in its good, in its natural form. We've used stevia a little bit. I'm finding out there is some negative things to stevia. If you're using it too much, it really cuts down on the hormones. It's been proved to show causing people to go sterile. But that's in like really high concentration. I don't approve of agave really. That there again, there's been some issues with hormonal balance in the body with agave, so I really steer away from that. I mean, honey, you pretty much can, honey and molasses, you can pretty much cover the ground for the most part. It's not that convenient. There again, it's not convenient. I mean, we use mostly honey. A little bit of organic brown sugar, the natural raw brown sugar, if you have to. There's certain recipes that just can't substitute it. But for the most part, honey and sorghum molasses is what we're using. And there again, it's not convenient. That's the thing. I lead a very inconvenient life. Inconvenient life allows you to think more because you have to plan more, and it's better for you. You're using your brain. You don't just go to the store, you buy this and you buy that, and you just go home and you make it, or you go out to eat and it's already pre-made. You don't have to think other than looking at the menu, which I do go out to eat, but still, most of our food is homemade. The whole convenience thing is like a really big illness. And for the most part,
question
society,
about you were saying just finish up there. The most part what?
For the most part, that's the illness. The illness is the mind. The thinking, like convenience.
Right.
People will go back to inconveniencing themselves. A great portion of society would alter just very simply.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned conventional food. Whenever I shop at Whole Foods is the only store I buy food from, and a lot of Whole Foods say, we don't sell GMO food, but a few have actually been caught selling some GMO stuff in there. And one thing I notice when I go, especially to the fruit and vegetable section, you see fruits that's conventional and fruit that's organic. The latter costs more than the former, but is it always in your best interest, would you say, that if that you should always go with the organic, even if you just eat, the fact that it's more expensive is totally worth it, the money is totally worth it, or is conventional food really not that bad? And maybe explain what conventional actually means for those that aren't quite sure what that term means, because I'm actually a little confused myself about what it means.
Well, I can explain that pretty good. I used to be a farmer. I was raised in agriculture, and my father was a conventional farmer. That means today that they're following the United States Department of Agricultural practices, and that means synthetic fertilizers. That means using pesticides, chemical pesticides, and that means now you can use genetic modification. It's totally fine. That's conventional farming. Well, there's organic, which really today means using no synthetic chemicals, but yet now we have a whole series of natural chemicals that are okay for the organic standards. You can have in organic agriculture, you can still use some degree of genetic modification, which most people shy away from because they're aware. So it's just less toxic, really. Organic does not mean more nutritionally dense. It just means less toxic, really, if you're looking at the larger picture. And now you're looking at the standards of organics. You can have up to 70% genetically modified material in your product and still have it labeled organic because there's 30% or more organic material in there. So that's the USDA standard definitions. I mean, to me, organic is a completely different definition. That's organic meaning coming from the earth, real, natural, nutritionally dense. That's not the definition by the standards in agriculture, but yet we're taught, or we have the conception in our brains that organic means the latter that I just explained. It means more nutritionally dense, better for you. You see what I mean? So now definitions, I really appreciate you making distinctions like this because a lot of people get confused. The Department of Agriculture and their policies they've written is really a different set of definitions than we have perceived in our minds out here in the public. Because most people say, oh, organic, yeah, it is better. It's less toxic. So on that standpoint, I'm all for organics. I'm actually for biodynamics, which is a whole other reality, which is where you're feeding the soil, and in the soil is this living organism that you're trying to make as healthy as you possibly can, and then you're growing food in that medium. That I farmed that way on my farm, my personal farm, for 8 years. And it is a whole other reality beyond organics, because organics is a concept that is very misunderstood and is driven by policy, where biodynamics, which is well over 100-year-old, just a philosophy, it's back in the 1800s it began, and it's about treating your soil and your animals and what you're raising as organisms that you want to create as much health and vitality as possible. And then you're going to get the benefit of that in your food that you're getting from that. So is that fairly clear?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And Whole Foods conventional fruit and vegetables is not supposed to be GMO, but I don't know. When it comes to the food system, you don't know what to trust. I mean, considering that like so many people in the general public did not want Monsanto to continue putting GMO in foods, and then it was, I don't know how many months ago this was, it was sometime within this year, and even though everybody in the general public didn't want GMO food anymore, somehow the bill that allowed for it got passed, and there was a lot of dirty laundry that was going on behind the curtains that allowed for that to happen. So, well, we might get back to that a little bit later. You did actually write a book about this in some detail, but I do want to stick a little bit with this healthy diet stuff. Next thing on the list here, it says do eat as fresh and raw as possible, including your meats and eggs. Now, a lot of people would say, are you trying to get us sick by saying this? And there's another thing interesting here about this. When it comes to humans eating meat, I have heard people say humans are not supposed to be omnivores. We are supposed to be herbivores. We are not supposed to be eating meat. In fact, if you watch a lion eat its prey on the African savanna, you will notice that the lion goes through all sorts of hell and all sorts of trouble to tear the animal apart to eat it. And then when the lion walks away from the animal is basically just as big as it was before the lion ate the animal. And the reason that is because the lion basically eats everything that's edible in the animal except the muscle tissue. And the reason the lion does not eat muscle tissue is because muscle tissue is toxic. And a lot of people would hear that like, oh shit, why are we poisoning ourselves by eating meat? How could we be doing this to ourselves? And some people are like, okay, well that's true, then why aren't we dead yet? Well, maybe it's because mind over matter to some extent plays into that, thinking meat is good for us, so that may have something to do with the fact that it's not poisoning us to the extent that it would if we knew that muscle tissue was toxic. But, well, first of all, I'd like you to address that. Now that I brought that to your attention, then that's the reason lions don't eat muscle tissue, because it's toxic. Wouldn't that the same apply to humans? And if you say, oh, okay, you can still eat meat, but why would you want to eat it fresh and raw? And please silence all the skeptics there who say you're basically asking to poison yourself if you do that.
I love this conversation tonight, Andrew. So let's do the we're our body is designed to eat plant material only. This is straight farm boy, elementary wisdom I learned on the farm. Okay? First of all, the very best herbivore on the planet, conversion of plant material to animal meat, is a ruminant animal, an animal that has 4 stomachs, okay, has the teeth for it. They only have bottom teeth in the front for ripping and tearing the grass and eating it. They have 4 stomachs. It takes roughly 18 hours to go through the whole 4 stomachs, chewing the cud, the fermentation between each step, and then it goes into the small intestines for further the rest of the digestion and assimilation. Okay? We don't have 4 stomachs. We have a very short stomach transit time, actually. It's 3 to 4 hours if it's functioning properly. And we don't have a set of teeth like a bovine or a goat or a horse. Of course, horses don't have 4 stomachs, but they are grass eaters. So we have less similarity to those in nature than we do the plant eaters in nature, than we do the meat eaters in nature. And there again, farm knowledge again, okay? You're correct with the lion and the African safari. Our farm dogs never ate the meat either. They would, when you throw something out there to them for eating, or they'd be out back when on the compost pile, they would take the meat, the bones, and they would bury that and let the bacteria and fungi in the ground break it down further before they would eat it. They would eat the organs, the brains. They would drink the blood. They would eat the things that would rot extremely fast. Now, when you feed grains, nuts, and seeds to a mammal, one of the main detrimental things that takes place is your enzyme production begins to get compromised. We're familiar with some of the things, and one of them is lactose intolerance. We're mammals, and yet mammals cannot nowadays even drink their own mama's milk. I was one of them. I was on Similac. My mama's milk poisoned me when I was an infant, and the records say that I died. Okay? Lactase is an enzyme that gets shut off when you eat grains, nuts, and seeds. Another enzyme that gets shut off, and it's very important, is for our vitamin C production. The enzyme, the short version is GLO. That's one of the first enzymes to get shut off. And the old sailors of old used to have what was called scurvy. They would be out on the ocean for months. They would eat all the real food, the stuff that rotted fast, and then they were left with basically gruel, which is grain, mush that they would make on the ships. And their vitamin C production, that's very important in our bodies, in our Krebs cycle, in our metabolism, gets shut off. One of the first things that get shut off is that particular cycle, and scurvy is the outcome. And then they found out hundreds of years ago, if they would just take citrus fruit with them, they could then live on grain, gruel out there in the boat if they had a little bit of citrus fruit with them. So they overcame that issue hundreds of years ago, and today, why people got scurvy is totally forgotten about. Well, that's big today. Grains, nuts, and seeds, right? We just talked about it earlier. Well, you want to know why things are toxic? Well, when your enzymes get shut off, and here's a little list, the GLO enzyme, then the lactase, then you got protease and amylase and lipase. They get shut off right down the line as longer you eat these things, and then we lose the ability as a mammal to eat those things. The cat out on the wild Sahara, they would take and bury the animal, or they would leave the animal somewhere, and they would come back to it periodically. So to continue that story, you're correct. Okay. Well, first of all, we're not cats quite like that. Yes, we have a similar digestive system to the hunter, but we're more like the bear or the swine, which can eat vegetation and eat animal products. It's called omnivore. If that was the case, we wouldn't have eye teeth. We wouldn't have a top row of teeth in the front. We'd have 4 stomachs, or we would have the ability with one stomach to process a massive amount of vegetation. In agricultural science, I learned in 9th grade in school, a cow converting plant protein into mammal protein converts it at the rate of about 25%. That means a cow is only able to extract out about 25% of any available protein in the plant source. Human beings get less than 2% of any valuable protein out of plants converted into animal protein in our bodies. So that means eating a plant solid diet eventually will lead you to a degenerated state that you will have physical breakdowns. The bulk of our people that come to us have been vegan at one time or vegetarian at one time. I was one. And it only took me about 3.5 years before my body started falling apart. My partner, she's 21 years with no animal products, and she ended up losing her teeth, skin problems. She was in a wheelchair because of muscle problems with the lower back, had to have some surgeries, had digestive problems, all kinds of problems. And this is the bulk of our people that come to us have been damaged by choosing this particular diet of high plant products and virtually no animal products. So that's why these rules on the healthy diet tab are what they are. Every word in there, it has a reasoning, and I appreciate you giving me the time to share the reasoning why we say what we say.
You're very welcome. And getting down to near the bottom of this list here, let's, I guess, try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Stay hydrated and advanced oxygen therapy. Well, what do the 2 have to do with each other? Well, I've actually started drinking ozone water, 1 glass of ozone water a day, using the same ozone machine that Greg Prescott of In5D uses. He was the one who I got the idea to use it from. And I'm guessing when you say advanced oxygen therapy, that ozone water would be one of the things you put in there. But also in regards to staying hydrated in water, what kind of water should you be drinking? Well, they say definitely filtered. I mean, I happen to live in a town where the municipality folks, they actually want us to not have to fear drinking water out of the taps, so they go to great lengths to remove all the fluoride and as many other toxins as they can. But even then, they say still, by all means, try to filter the water. And however, when it comes to like the type of water, Greg Prescott of In5D, I mentioned him again. I'll mention him again because he said that he tried drinking distilled water for a little bit, pure distilled water, and he started losing his hair after he did that, at which point he was like, oh shit, I'm not going to drink this anymore. And then he was not distilled anymore, but he always goes to the trouble to filter it. And I don't know how many glasses of ozone water he drinks a day. I'm only doing 1 a day. But hey, since you teach about advanced oxygen therapy, if I should be drinking more, then by all means, tell me right now. I'm interested. So I guess how to take care of your water, why distilled water would make someone's hair fall out, and is it really bad for you to drink that, and what kind of advanced oxygen therapy, but besides ozone therapy, is there?
Well, the water, huge topic. Huge problem as well as acquiring good quality water, especially in the United States, North America in general, NATO countries. Okay? So every time you pump water, every time you filter water, you run it through a membrane, you're pumping it around square corners. Every time you're moving water mechanically, you're causing a degeneration in the ability for that water to be beneficial for us every single time. I mean, ultimately, I feel extremely fortunate. We have 300-gallon tanks here that we go like 40 miles to fill from a natural spring coming out of a mountain, and the tests on it are awesome. That's rare nowadays. That's one of the reasons I moved where we moved, because I had a water source locally that was fairly decent. Now, city water, oh my gosh. Pumped several times, stored long periods of time, running through pipes that are ancient and of just poor quality. You got to do something to your water to make it hydrate you, because here again, we're an electrical machine. We have taste buds, we have sight, we have smell, we have electrical sensors everywhere in our body. And if it doesn't recognize it as food, it's a toxin. It's either one or the other. Distilled water is total toxin in my book. It will strip the minerals out of your body. It will cause hormonal imbalances. Now, that's on the biological side. On the academic side, distilled water is pure. I learned this as a kid. I had some kind of expensive fish that I worked really hard to buy. And I was kind of lazy. I didn't clean my tank, and it was in the living room. And I was gone, and my mom was going to do me a favor. She drained the tank way down, cleaned it all up, and then she put distilled water back in there, and I got home that evening, and all my fish were dead. Wow, that was an eye-opener. My mom just killed all my fish by cleaning the tank and putting distilled water in there. It's exactly what's happening. You put distilled water enough in your body, long enough in your body, you're going to cause some severe degeneration. Now, in an emergency situation, it's better than drinking straight water out of a municipality and whatever else. In an emergency, that's one thing. But to try to sustain on that long term, you know, the hair falling out is totally reasonable in logic. I've heard of that before. I've also heard of joints going bad. I've also heard of people's teeth coming loose. I've heard of all kinds of skin problems and actually the increase in acidosis from distilled water. And that goes for drinking straight reverse osmosis water as well. It causes biological problems. We're designed to drink real life living water from nature. The problem is we don't have natural water anymore, hardly at all. I mean, we have to travel 40 miles away to get real water. I do it because I see the value in it. And then we always put a little bit of sea salt, which I import sea salt out of El Salvador, which is one of the only sources of salt on the planet that I'm aware of that does not have industrial waste in it from acid rain. And then we put this other product in called Oxylift. There's another product out there called Cell Food as well that will cause the water, if it's been pumped and stored and distilled and RO'd and all that, it will actually give it a little bit better recognition for the body and make it palatable so it's not detrimental. So you have to treat your water with something if you're going to be doing this other things, because when you pump and when you filter and when you move water mechanically, you destroy the life force in it. Because if you notice water, it goes in the stream, it's going around and over nice easy flows, and the eddies are nice swirls and all that. Well, you don't have that. And you can actually take out the life force in the water just by pumping it, just by filtering it, and then it becomes a detriment to you. So are you hydrating you just because you drink a gallon of water? No, absolutely not. We see people that are drinking a gallon to a gallon and a half of water a day, and they're so dehydrated that they're just in this dehydrated state where they're lacking energy, they're lacking life force, their joints hurt, their skin looks horrible. It's very simple to tell if you're dehydrated. Just take your finger on your arm and about an inch or so apart and squeeze it together and hold it for a couple seconds and let go. If it doesn't go back and it doesn't relax back to the way it was before you did that, if it goes really slow or it stays, that's a severe dehydration state. That's a very simple test. And most people are dehydrated to some extent, and they're drinking massive amounts of water. Another thing is the grains, the nuts, and the seeds, consuming amounts of those requires a massive amount of fluid just to wet it in order to get it through the system. There's a whole huge article on, the website is called fibermenace.com. Everyone should read that website. Listen to the videos. There's a lot of awesome information in there about how insoluble fiber and this whole concept of drinking, 2 ounces, is it 2 ounces of water per 10 pounds of body weight, so there's all these different equations, but it's like we're killing ourselves by drinking so much water. And we're seeing that. It's taxing the kidneys. It's taxing your whole endocrine system. It's causing bladder problems, prostate problems, urinary tract problems, which ultimately comes down to headache problems and other kinds of manifestations. And it can be tracked back to this whole, you're drinking a massive amount of water, but it's not hydrating you. So it's a big problem.
What about the oxygen therapy thing and ozone therapy?
The oxygen therapy. There's a lot of different kinds of oxygen therapy. We use several different kinds. I use one that seems to work extremely well. I think every medicine chest should have it. It's a chlorine dioxide mixture, and we call it advanced oxygen therapy because it raises the oxygen levels in the body as well as knocks the infections down at the same time. And you can use it topically, orally. It works great for brushing your teeth with it and knocks the infections down in your mouth, helps to tighten the teeth up and get rid of any infections in the mouth. I mean, I've used it in so many different ways. Environmentally, it kills mold. You can use it that way. I've used the ozone like you're talking about. Another great thing, that's all helping to raise the oxygen in the environment externally as well as internally. Huge benefits because we live in an oxygen-starved environment. We live in an out-of-balance environment, and most people have infections in their respiratory system, so they're not being oxygenated through the normal means anyhow. So you have to do as much extra stuff as possible. And one of the things we use is a product, advanced oxygen therapy. And there again, I apologize about the website. We're in the middle of a huge transition. We just changed over to our own servers so we can get away from some of the hacking and control of security. There's a lot of information that's not turned back on and back up yet. So we're working on it. So I apologize. It loads slow. It's just, we're a small business, a family-orientated, very community-minded business here, and it just takes time because I don't have the finances to hire all this stuff done, so we do it internally. So there again, I apologize for that if things aren't working very well.
Thanks. By the way, I just noticed the only caller in the queue, area code 563, dropped off. I kind of feel bad. I should have said earlier. I don't know if they were planning to call in. They may have just been listening, but should have mentioned earlier that I was actually going to be taking calls a little later because I was the only caller in the queue. I didn't have to take calls at a quarter before, 45 minutes before the show ended to do it. But hopefully he or she will call back in if they have a question. Sorry if I led him to believe that I wasn't going to take calls because I wanted to. But anyway, guys, might as well continue on with the show here. A couple of more things going on in your healthy diet thing. General supplements information. It says that you cannot get all the 90 essential nutrients. It said that there are 90 essential nutrients that your body needs at some point or another, and if you don't get any one of those 90 essential nutrients, then some sort of a problem will happen with your body, and you cannot get all those 90 essential nutrients from food alone. You have to supplement in some way. Do you think that's an accurate statement? And if it is, then what kind of supplements do you recommend? And again, you can make a sales pitch out of this if you so desire.
Sure. Well, we know in 1936, and you can just Google this. It's on the internet, free. There's a Senate document, I believe it's 264, called The Miracle Men. It was actually an article written in the Cosmopolitan magazine, and it was so valuable, that information in the article, that they read the whole article out of the Cosmopolitan into the Senate record in 1936, basically saying that our soil is deficient in 1936, and the human body doesn't have the ability to eat the massive amount of volume to get what it needs out of the food, because it's not in the food. So 1936, 80 years ago. We have worse farming practices today, and that goes for organic as well, because most organic farmers do not feed the soil. Came out, I think it was like 2006, 2007, made a statement. He's a physicist. Says we need a minimum of 60 minerals, a bioelectrically available mineral, in our diet every day just to be adequately healthy. 60. A few years ago, a few of us got together and we took some food samples, organic and conventional, and sent it in to have testing, spectrometer testing. We did Walmart food, We did wild oats. It was before Whole Foods was as big as it is. And the Walmart food had less than 18 available minerals in it. The organic food had anywhere from 20 to 24, something like that. It was a little bit more. It was still a far cry from 60. So with that, I went on a track and found out from Fritz Pop shared what the minerals. Well, what are we going to do? So we found the mineral source that is bio as well as electrically available to the body. That means the body recognizes it as food. It's not just elements like rock dust, because there's several different kinds of minerals. You have the rock dust. You have salt form of minerals. You have industrial waste form of minerals. Then you have colloid minerals. That's like ancient deposits of minerals from plant and animal decayed from thousands of years ago, some say millions, whatever. They're old. And they're recognized as food. Our body recognizes them like, hey, this is good for me. Where the rock dust and the industrial waste minerals, metals, the body doesn't really recognize them as food. It will use them in place of the other minerals if it doesn't have the minerals. I mean, just look at the salt trade 1,000 years ago. I learned this from our anthropologist friend. The salt trade. Salt was money. It was valued more than any precious metal is today because the value for life, the salt was that valuable. And people knew if you did not have salt in your diet, you are going to be diseased and die. So we use salt as supplements. And actually we have a really good friend that says we shouldn't be calling ourselves supplements. They should be called essentials because the food doesn't have it in it anymore. We know we need more than 60 minerals a day, and the best organic stuff you can buy in the store has, 20, maybe 24, 25 minerals in it. So what does that mean? That means if you're going to try to eat to be healthy, you're not going to do it. You're going to slow the aging and disease process down by doing that, but you're not going to get vibrantly healthy because the food don't have it. And if the food doesn't have it, how can you expect to have it in your body? Because that's how we get our get elements into our body is through our mouth. I don't know very many people that can transmutate elements out of thin air and make them food for them.
Well, since you mentioned that, when I was at the Mount Shasta conference this past summer, during a little session around the campfire, some woman was trying to direct us into getting nutrients from nature, and she basically said, stick your arms out, spread your fingers out, ask nature to feed you any essential nutrients that you need, and it will feed you, and just allow for it to happen and believe that it can happen, and simply allowing and believing it to happen will allow for that to happen. And of course it also helps to ask your angels and guides to make sure that negative entities don't take advantage of that and poison you while you're letting the nutrients in you. But do you think maybe it's not really worth it to try something like that? You're basically wasting your time because going out into nature and asking nature, feed me, I'm allowing you to feed me, and sticking your hands out in the air, and it is not really going to be as effective no matter what you believe and what your intent is.
Well, see, there again, let's go back to the two separate aspects of our mind, our subconscious mind and our conscious mind. And there again, I'm directing people to Bruce Lipton. Please check Bruce Lipton out and the whole epigenetic conversation, because the saying that our conscious mind, and there again, that person that you were just referring to and was recommending using the conscious mind to do something. Well, the conscious mind is it's not directly related to the subconscious. And so you can consciously say things. This is why affirmations don't really work the best. This is why, you have a New Year's resolution, and usually by Valentine's Day you've totally forgot about it and you're eating chocolate. And so there's a disconnect between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. Okay, and the power of the conscious mind is around 80 to 100 times less than the subconscious mind. And so our subconscious mind programs are pretty much formed by the time we're 6 or 7, from conception to the age of 6 or 7. The majority of the programs that you run with your whole life are pretty much solidified, around that 7 years of age. So that means when we're 50 and we're sitting in Mount Shasta with our arms open and we're consciously doing what you said, it's not going to manifest into reality hardly at all, because the subconscious mind has these programs in it. For instance, I don't love myself. So therefore, you're going to consciously use that mind, the conscious mind, to then say, nature, give me what I need. Okay, in theory, I'm down for it. But in real application, the stopgap, the stumbling block is the power of the subconscious mind, if you equate it to like computer language, has a computation and storage ability that is like, I forget how many terabytes. It's huge. A massive amount of information is stored in our subconscious mind, in our body. And the conscious mind is like, 10 gigs, 10 bytes. I mean, it's a very small computation processor, where the subconscious mind is like a supercomputer. And so therefore, your conscious efforts don't land. They don't change your subconscious programming virtually at all. There are people that do get beneficial things happen to them through affirmations. But if you just listen to some of these newer scientists, well, they're not new, but the information is new that's coming out in the last 20 years, is saying that you cannot virtually affect anything in your subconscious mind by consciously doing it. And that's a huge missing out in the world today, because we're all running around working with our consciousness. We're consciously doing this and we're consciously doing that, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that it's left out the connection and not focused on the subconscious, which is like our mainframe computer programs that run default on us. And to consciously change them by doing these things like you were explaining before, they were instructing you to do that, is very limiting, because it's not going to work.
Well,
and that's
since you mentioned that, there are ways to unlock the locks in the subconscious mind. I actually listen to some subliminal tapes and messages and such, which the subliminal things in them are designed to unlock the blocks in your subconscious mind. In the case that I use them, they're designed to unlock locks that in the mind that would keep you from attaining money. Like people try to use the law of attraction to attain more money, but they can't do it because they have something in their subconscious mind that prevents them from doing that thinks money is bad. Well, there are programs that contain subliminal messages and such in them that can be used to unlock that, and I'm sure that there are such things that can be used to that can help you gain nutrients from nature in a similar regard, but that's definitely something that would probably need a lot more research. But on a related note, switching gears, asking your angels and guides to help you. I mentioned when the person said when you do this, get stuff from nature, make sure you ask your angels and guides to protect you as you do that. Well, similarly, whenever I eat food, I always, without exception, ask my angels and guides to help me attain only the highest good from the food that I'm about to eat. And that goes double when you're eating food from like a restaurant or something, or any place that is definitely serving you GMO food. But many would assert that there is only limits to what your angels and guides do. I mean, if you deliberately get food that has GMO and other toxins in it, for example, then yeah, you can ask your angels and guides to help you attain the highest good from it. But in the end, your angels and guides are going to acknowledge, okay, you willfully chose to eat food that's bad, we'll help you, but we're not going to help you 100% to attain only the true highest good from this food because you consciously chose food that you knew was bad for you. So the issue of always asking your angels and guides to help you attain the highest good from food, to what extent will the angels and guides actually help you if you do that, if the food you are eating truly is not good for you?
I'm with you. I mean, that could be like lumped into like prayer, I guess, right? And belief. I mean, if you're having a negative belief around food, it doesn't matter what you eat; it's going to be bad. I'm aligned with you. I don't call them angels and guides. I have my own different view. It's more towards the native Aborigines or American Indian, or more towards the Gnostic view, but it's the same concept. You're having a belief system around something. And there again, if you're consciously believing that and your subconscious is aligned, fantastic. Your body can overcome all kinds of stuff. It's just when there's that conflict that seems to be the determining factor, whether that kind of requesting your angels and guides, praying, or thanking the Great Spirit, however you want to look at it, there's the disconnect. Is your subconscious and your conscious mind aligned? And when they're aligned, you could like about eat anything. To some, I'm still not proposing to eat poison and stuff, but do you know what I'm saying? And I don't worry about when I go out to eat. I do my best to eat as less toxic as a diet as I can in food, and I prefer non-GMO always. But here's the thing: is I don't know. We go out to eat, or we go invited out to some people's houses. I'm going to eat what they're going to give me, just out of courtesy and respect, and just the way I am. And I believe that there's a belief system that protects me, because I'm looking at if GMOs are affecting me. I'm able to see if pesticides are a problem with the foods I'm eating, because I practice what I preach. I scan myself about every month. I just had one this morning, and I follow my protocol, and I live my life, and I relax. I am definitely relaxed a lot more than I used to be, and I can tell with that relaxing, the difference. The food nourishes me more, just by not being in that fearful state, because that fearful state will cause your nice organic meal to turn to poison, because your stomach is in an acidosis state. It's just a huge concept that in the bigger picture of things is people really should be calming down, and this whole idea of living in such fear. In today's world, we're bombarded with fear. Fear pornography is everywhere. That's what I like to call it. Because you're being told all this stuff, but there's very little solutions out there. Oh, the boogeyman ISIS. Oh, the boogeyman Al-Qaeda. Oh, there's GMOs here. Oh, there's chemtrails there. I really, it doesn't bother me anymore. As soon as I learned the difference between stop hyper-focusing on what this stuff is and going on, and there's really no solution. What do you do for chemtrails? I'm not going to shoot down an airplane. I got friends that could, but they're not going to, because what happens? You're going to get in trouble. You can't really stop it. There's just as much more aluminum and other heavy metals up there in Mount Shasta than there is in the Appalachians. So you're not going to get away from the toxins. So my goal is to fortify the body so the body can just deal with it, because that's what our tagline: vibrant health is the remedy of all disease. Doesn't matter. If you're vibrantly healthy, you don't have a disease. It can't exist in the same place.
Right, and in regards to curing disease, by the way, just so you know, there's 16 minutes and 20 seconds left on the live feed. We can go a little past that if you need to finish a thought or something. I want to try to keep the show to 2 hours, though. If anybody wants to listen to the show after the 16 minutes and 10 seconds now of live feed is up, they'll have to call in. But there are two subjects I want to cover, I guess, if you want, maybe spend 7 minutes on each subject. First is the science behind Dr. Rife technology. We don't have to get into any of the conspiratorial stuff about what happened to Dr. Rife and who did the bad things to him and whatnot. It was definitely the powers that be who didn't want his technology to get out to the public. But we don't need to talk about that. We just need to focus on how the science behind Dr. Rife's technology works. And there's also an article here on your site called The Ineffectiveness of Electrotherapies and Why. So let's finish on those two subjects, Dr. Rife technology and also the ineffectiveness of electrotherapies and why.
Well, so Mr. Rife figured out that organisms have a unique frequency coding, and he built a machine to create the frequencies. Then he built a scope to actually watch the microorganisms respond to the frequencies, and he categorized the frequencies of which frequency affected different organisms. And he was helping people get over diseases that way by killing the infections with the machine. And it was an old analog tube-type machine, okay? And we wrote the article that's on our website, and as well, it was published in the Tesla Technology magazine as well, the ineffectiveness of these therapies. Because I had a Rife machine. I had several. I still have one of the analog variety. I got rid of all the digital ones. Because as soon as the people would come to the office to use the machine, they'd shut the machine off and they'd go home, and they'd have to come back periodically to basically get charged again or use the machine again. And the infections weren't going away. The only way the infections would go away is if we were incorporating other things involved in this, nutritional things and probiotics and enzymes and things. And then they would have more sustainability to the machinery. So getting back to Rife, he discovered all of this, and now we have several different kinds of Rife technologies, if you will, where they're categorizing different things, body organs, body areas, in different kinds of microorganisms, parasites, pathogens, to kill them. But I noticed that people are coming back after a while with a similar problem, or maybe the problem changed to something else, and it was this continual bandage. I call it a bandage because it didn't fix anything. It just knocked an infection down. That's it. So I researched into this. Why is this happening? Well, there's no sustainability with electrotherapies anymore. Back in Reich's day, which was like, 80, 90 years ago, people weren't in such a degenerated state. Our environment wasn't as polluted, and there was no GMOs, especially these GMO microorganisms, these genetically modified bacteria, fungi, and viruses. They weren't around. So the machine back then, first of all, it was analog. It worked much better. People weren't as degenerated and full of junk back then. So it worked better. Nowadays, the machinery doesn't work very well. Nothing like the old ones. First of all, digital machines versus the analog machines, the medicinal value goes way down just because the signal is different. It's generated differently. And the body is in a malnutrition state. Mineral and amino acids are lacking, so therefore the electrolysis in the body is severely diminished. Most people are loaded with infections. Well, that cuts down on the electrolysis that happens in the body. And we're suppressing the negative emotions, childhood adversity. This is a whole new aspect that's coming into our awareness here because there's been several studies coming to a completion, 40, 50, 60-year studies that have studied childhood adversity and how it impacts negatively adults, 30, 40, 50 years old, 60 years old. And just having loads of childhood adversity gone through in your life as a child and now 50 years old, now these machines, electrotherapies, don't work very well because of all this negative emotional suppression that has taken place over a lifetime. It's kind of like short-circuiting the body. So therefore, the electrotherapies don't work nearly as good as they used to. It's a combination of all those things. So that's why we wrote that article. It's been almost 2 years now, about the ineffectiveness of electrotherapies and why. So by reading that, hopefully our intention is to get people to understand that there's more to health than just like running a machine. Because right now we're in this technological advancement where there's all kinds of machines that people have produced. And there's all kinds of marketing ploys that they're using to say my machine is better than your machine, and I'm going to call it this kind of energy, and I'm going to call it that kind of energy. And really there's only one kind of energy. It's life force. I don't care if you want to call it scalar, if you want to call it whatever, Tesla energy, if you want to call it whatever. It's the same energy that beats your heart. That's the energy I'm talking about. The energy in nature that causes the sap to rise in the spring in the tree and fall in the winter. That energy, the energy of life force, it's the same across species. And it is severely deficient because we're deficient. In life force, we're deficient in elements. And by using a machine to try to improve health, you're going to get caught in a trap eventually, because as soon as you shut the machine off and you walk away from the machine, your body lacks the sustainability to hold the frequencies, kind of like a worn-out guitar string. You can tune the guitar string, you play a little bit, and you're going to have to tune it again. And then you play it, and then tune it again, because it won't hold the harmony. It won't hold the vibration because it's wore out. We're like bodies, like that guitar string. We're wore out, and the capacity for ours to rebuild itself is not there anymore. So by using the machine is so similar to tuning a guitar string, a worn-out guitar string. It only lasts for a very short period of time, and then you got to tune it again, or you got to go back to your rife machine and turn it on again. It's literally like that in our viewpoint.
Well, hopefully that inspires people to get their nutrition right. And speaking of which, just so you know, we have 8 minutes and 50 seconds on the live feed. One final subject, I guess, maybe two if we have time. I want to talk about something that I do and whether or not you advocate it or not, and maybe see if other people might want to do it as well if you do advocate it. I am an avid sun gazer, and it's been said that sun gazing improves general body health by improving mood, and it can be used as a caffeine substitute in the morning. And if you do it during sunset, it'll actually help you sleep that night. And it's said to neutralize everything in the body for the better. And the body has the ability to convert sunlight into essential nutrients. And Akashic Records creator Andrew Bartzis did say in a question and answer session he did that it is a total misconception that you can only look at the sun during the first hour of sunrise and the last hour of sunset, because that's when it's safe to do it. He says that it can be done any time of day. The system has totally lied to us when they tell us that looking at the sun will make you go blind. In reality, it bypasses the physical and it goes straight to the brain to do all the healthy things it does, and also improve the pineal gland. I forgot to mention that, enhance the pineal gland. Now, that's not to say that it will not change the shape of your eye. I mean, it's not the shape, but the appearance of your eye. Like if a doctor, an MD, an ophthalmologist were to do a scan of your eye and see the inside of it, they might be able to see something that would show, okay, this guy is a sun gazer, just like how when a weightlifter lifts a lot of weights, he gets calluses on his hands. So too, if someone does a lot of sun gazing, they will have a mark of sorts in their eye. And I actually have a mark like that, and the doctor is saying, oh my God, you're hurting your vision. And I'm telling her, no, that's just a mark of sorts that I'm an avid sun gazer, just a signature. I'm not losing my vision. And I do see like a yellow dot straight in my field of view, but that's not any damage to the vision. Some people misinterpret that as macular degeneration. It's not. It's just my pineal gland has been activated, and that causes me to see what appears like a spinning yellow dot straight on in my field of view. But the key thing here is that your body has the ability to turn sunlight into essential nutrients, or so it's said, and that's why sun gazing, I would assert, is good for you. And of course, the best way to do it is to stay grounded, bare feet on the ground, or if there's snow on the ground, then I guess you could do it through a window or wear shoes. And if you can't do it bare feet on the ground, stick your hand on the ground. That's just as good. It's better to do it on dirt than grass, because grass, it's been said by some, can drain your energy. But sun gazing, do you advocate it or not advocate it? Now that I've told you what I've told you now, and any general comments on it?
I do. It's definitely beneficial. Vitamin D is a hormone created under your skin from the exposure to sun. If, in fact, your system is working properly and you're eating enough of the elements to support the creation of vitamin D. We have similar processes like a plant, if you will, photosynthesis. It's called different things in the human body, but we're dependent on the sun. So, yeah, I'm all for that. Gazing, I have no problem with it. I can tell you, though, that nowadays people have sinus infections so bad that sun gazing causes them massive amounts of pain. People can look at the sun just for seconds during the day, in the morning, in the evening, anytime, and they have this pain in their heads. Well, infections, sinus infections, your eyes. If you have infections in your upper sinus cavities, behind your eyes, or in your eyes, they'll release mycotoxins in the presence of sunlight. And those mycotoxins will cause you pain, so you stop looking at the sun. Because most of your fungal and bacterial infections, they don't like sun. They like it dark. They do warm, moist, and dark. Then they're fine. But when sunlight is actually a natural, if you want to look at antimicrobial, has antimicrobial properties. Sunlight, it causes the breakdown of microorganism cells to some extent. And nowadays, you can look up in the sky, and we have a significant frequency change. The color's not the same. A film in our atmosphere that has changed the sun. I have been watching the sun my whole life. Been outside most of my life. And the sun as a kid, compared to the sun today, it's a different shade. So that means the frequency is different. That means the effect on the body is going to be different as well. So yeah, 100 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 2,000 years ago, sun gazing was much more beneficial. Today, sun gazing, because of the filter that's in our upper atmosphere and the different frequency change or color change of the sun, has a different effect on the body. But yeah, for the most part, I am all about it. We need the sun in order to live healthy. So I'm aligned with that.
Right, but aside from vitamin D, it's not just vitamin D. If you sun gaze, literally look at the sun, it's other nutrients besides vitamin D. Any idea what kind of nutrients in particular besides vitamin D that sun gazing could generate?
There is. I don't have it right now. Just pulling it out of my head. I don't have access to that. I haven't had this conversation in so long. I can't even think right now about what other. I know there's other beneficial things that take place. But what it is, I mean, it stimulates your glands. It stimulates your central nervous system. It stimulates, like you were saying before, that the pineal gland. It stimulates your entire glandular system. The whole endocrine system becomes stimulated by sun exposure. And it doesn't take very much. I heard one time, if your body is operating at functioning properly and not full of infection, that all it would take for a week's worth of benefit is 5 minutes of sun exposure on an area of a silver dollar of the skin. That's it, like your cheek. For 5 minutes is enough beneficial medicinal value for an entire week. That's if everything is running properly.
Yeah, and I think maybe sun gazing, the fact that I do it so much, is another reason it took so long for my Lyme disease to manifest, because sun gazing, Andrew Bartz has said, neutralizes everything in your body for the better. Maybe it was neutralizing the disease to prevent it from spreading. That's only a hypothesis. I can't confirm that, but I don't know, it kind of makes sense.
I've heard that before.
Okay, but anyway, by the way, the show's live feed's about to end in 1 minute, 20 seconds. So I guess we'll bring the show an end. And Dr. Spencer, I will tell you now the same thing I tell all of my guests. It's an emotional thing, but hey, kind of made a habit about saying it. So, Dr. Spencer, loves having you on, and you are a fascinating individual, and I have no doubt that I could do another show with you, but one of my goals with this radio show is to get as many different guests as possible on this show before I give any one specific guest double dips, because I feel that is the fairest, most impartial, and most informative way of doing a radio show. Now, if you have something important you want to discuss, if you ever discover something new or have some valuable information or something to share, then by all means give me a contact, and then I suppose I could give you maybe a half an hour to an hour to discuss that. But as far as me contacting you or any of my other previous guests for another interview, probably not going to happen because, please understand, I have a lot of other fascinating individuals besides you that I need to give the chance to have some glory on my show. But believe me, I do believe this was a fascinating interview. I have no doubt people will benefit from it. I'm sure you'll see a spike in your sales after I upload this interview to YouTube for people to watch it and such. And I'll try to post a link to this on social medias as well. I did tell you in that email that most of my listeners are of the archive variety, and YouTube has a lot to do with that. So, Dr. Spencer, loved having you on. I wish you the best of luck, and I do hope this increases the amount of money in your pocketbook when people listen to this interview.
I'm deeply honored with that intention, and thank you so much. That's fabulous. And the intention back, I mean, I have gratification and thankfulness that you've asked me to come on to your show then. That's great. I really do appreciate that.
You're very, very welcome, Dr. Spencer. Okay, take care. Namaste. Maybe I'll buy one product. All right, take care now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Namaste. Take care. Okay, folks, that's the end of this show, and next week I am supposed to have Jordan Maxwell on. It wasn't long ago when I thought I wasn't going to be able to get him on because I contacted him. He said he didn't want to do radio anymore after giving it a little bit of thought. But then I saw he did an interview on the Richie Allen show, actually a couple interviews. So when I contacted him about that, he said, yes, I actually am going to be doing radio again if he comes on my show. Next Wednesday, he said he'll be happy to explain why he decided not to come on my show. I hope people didn't threaten him or something, but he's gone through a lot of hell trying to expose the things that he's been exposing about the Illuminati since all the way back in 1959 when he was only like 19, 20 years old or something. So Jordan Maxwell, hopefully he'll be the guest next week. He didn't respond to some messages I sent him, but hopefully that's nothing to be concerned about. So, Jordan Maxwell next week. This is Andrew Fisher signing off from Nature of Reality Radio. Namaste, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your trek throughout infinite consciousness.